KILR. Killer Games.
Well, hello there, gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the Killer Gamer, and we're back here with Flight Simulator 2 for the Commodore 64, going coast to coast, from the west to the east. Let's go ahead and talk about where we are at and where we're going to be going here. This is the collection of SubLogic flight simulator maps for the Commodore 64. Painstakingly copied and pasted and arranged and the best I possibly could do to get it all somewhat aligned. So we left in Los Angeles. And that was, yeah. Was it Los Angeles? Was it San Francisco? Who knows? And then just flying along this route, we finally got out of the Western U.S. scenery disc set and came into the Eastern. We're on scenery disc number 9 at the moment. And we had gone from St. Louis to Champaign, and then Champaign over here to Indianapolis, which is where we're at right now. We're going to be making, not too long of a flight on this one. We're going to be flying over to Cincinnati, Ohio. And let's see. We'll tune in to Shelbyville right here, 112.0, and then Cincinnati at 117.3. Oh, it's raining. And I don't mean in the simulator. No, it's not raining. And wouldn't that be cool, though? Raining here in Flight Simulator 2. We can make clouds. We can do that, but we can't do rain. However, you may be interested to know that the taxiways and stuff that are here are made out of water. Now, you may be thinking, nah, it was just color-coded. Wrong, right? No. What we discovered in the last flight is if you take your plane onto the blue-colored taxiway, you will splash. Guaranteed, you will splash. Now, these SubLogic scenery discs, they also got ported over to the Amiga as well as the PC, so the question is, does it do the same thing on those as well? That is something that we will have to look at in another video, or another comparison, or something. But let's go ahead and get everything set up here. Yeah, it is definitely raining outside. Definitely raining outside. We're going to go ahead and change nav 2 to 112.0. And then Cincinnati to 117.3. Oops. Here it goes, 22 miles away. Okay, too far away from Cincinnati to pick up a signal. Well, let's see. Shelbyville. Which direction should we be going? Oh my, I just heard thunder. Or was that a truck? That might have been a truck, never mind. That could have been a truck parking next to me. Well, we should be going down at, what, 1-1? There we go. The little needle there on the Omni bearing indicator, the OBI, is moving. Well, they did say it was going to rain today. It was like sunny. It was like sunny when I woke up. And then the storm clouds just came in quick. They came in quick. I wonder how that's affecting my internet connection. Who's to say? Okay, there's another thing that we discovered in Indianapolis, and that there is a couple of buildings. You can see them right up here in front. I don't know what those buildings are, as a matter of fact. I might be able to maybe pull them up on Google Maps and see if I can see what it is. We'll try to look up Indianapolis. I don't know. Let's see. KIND, right? Oh, that's not going to work. Airport? Here we go. I'm just kind of curious if maybe by chance we'll see. Oddly enough, I don't see. Can you hear the rain? I don't see waterways on this thing. So here you go. Here's the actual airport. And why does everything look different? We are on this runway right here. That's it. This right here. See, these don't look like waterways to me. Okay, they look paved. They don't look like they're made out of water. Yeah, so I don't know. I came here for Flight Simulator 2. I came here to watch the Commodore 64. I didn't come here to watch Google Earth. This is extra bonus content here, so. Alright. There we go. Alright. So. This right here is the runway we're going to be taking off from right here. So, those buildings are, they're like over here somewhere. I was hoping that, here we go. They're right over here in this area. So yeah, we're parked right about here. Oh, looks like there was water there. So yeah, we're somewhere like right about over here. And so the buildings are off here in the distance, and there you go. You can see it. So the question is, what buildings are there? What two buildings could they be? I'm trying to get closer. It doesn't seem to be working very well. Oh, here we go. This might work. Hey, this looks like Flight Simulator 2020. With all the crappy trees and everything. Yeah, this looks about right. This is good old Microsoft here. Okay, so let's see what buildings are over here. I'm sure it'll look just like this in the Commodore 64. Okay, so I think this building I think I know which two buildings now it is. I think it's this one right here. So this building here that's got kind of like it's tapered off there on the top. And then this one right here. I think these are the two buildings that are in the scenery, the SubLogic scenery disk. Now, are they important in some way? I don't know. I don't know if they are. But yeah, so this building right here, I don't know what building that is. It's not even labeled here. And then there's another tall building over here. And I believe those are the two buildings that are in the scenery disk. And we'll go ahead and we'll fly in that direction so that way you can all kind of see it. And we'll go ahead and get everything started right now. I was really surprised when I saw there were a couple of buildings. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting to see that here in Indianapolis. See those two buildings off to the right there? Those are the two that I'm referring to. I think it's those two that we saw in Google Earth. Okay, there we go. We are up in the air. Sleeping Jackal. What are the controls for this? Are you using a keyboard and a mouse? Pretty much just a keyboard, actually. A mouse was not really a thing back in the Commodore 64 age. However, with a Commodore 64 emulator, yes, using a mouse with that aspect of it, as far as getting access to the emulator menus and stuff. But as far as controlling the flight simulator, it's all by keyboard. You can do it with the joystick, but there is no finesse in regards to making your turns, raising or lowering your pitch. It makes it even harder to fly. So I've always had more success flying with a keyboard on the older simulator. Now with the newer simulators, yeah, obviously I don't use a keyboard. It's actually harder. It's actually harder to fly with a keyboard and the newer ones than it is the older ones. So there we go. And we'll fly close to them. But those are the two buildings that we were looking at in Google Maps. And I'll show it to you here again. There's this building right here, and then this other tall building. And I think those are the two buildings that are right up ahead there. Trying not to get too high here, because I want to be able to fly somewhat close to the buildings, so that way you can all see them. Not like there's going to be much to see, but sure you might appreciate a more closer up view. And there's no exterior shots or, you know, anything that we can do with this old simulator. This is what we got. I'm trying not to aim that way. Go down, down, so we can see. So, here, see, it's just a couple of blocks there. And that's it. That was the discovery that we made on the last flight. I was not expecting to see any scenery, buildings, you know, for Indianapolis. I didn't think we would see anything, so that's kind of cool. All right, so we're going to get back on course and get over to Cincinnati. We're adjusting the OBS number 1 so that we can find out what course we need to go to. This is going to take us to Shelbyville first. Looks like we need a heading of 120. Somewhere around there. Okay, and that white line that's heading out into the distance, I believe that is I-74, which will take us to Shelbyville, and then, yes, the white lines are roads, they are interstates. I'll bring up a, oh, the truck is rocking. Just my, heading here just a little bit. Alright, so about 3,000. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at that, map here. So we need to zoom out. So there you go. So if you were to look at Indianapolis, at least, you know, back around 1982 or 84 or whatever, it would kind of look like this. You've got the I-70. This is the I-70 right here. I believe we're taking the 74, which is this right here. You've got the 465 loop going all the way around. I think this is the 65 going south right there. It looks like the 69 is this one right here. So there you go. Alright, so 12 miles from Shelbyville. Meanwhile, let's see what the heading is to Cincinnati. It's amazing how much data they are able to fit on a floppy disk back in those days, and this was like the actual floppy disk, not the thing that was encased in a a plastic shell, but an actual disk that's floppy. We can look out the rear of the aircraft, and there is Indianapolis behind us. We've got ATIS information. Oh, where's it gone? The rain's pouring down again. Alright, let me go ahead and pull up the map so that way you folks can see what we're looking at. Here we go. This is our flight plan. We left Indianapolis right here. We are approaching Shelbyville here, and then we'll be continuing over here to Cincinnati. This is where we're going to be landing for this leg of the flight, right here at Greater Cincinnati International. We should be able to see the Ohio River. You can see how it's drawn out right there. So we should be able to see that. Is the flight time like it is to scale? You know, that's a really good question. I'm almost thinking it's close. It's close to scale. This is simulating a Piper, but it seems to take about as long to fly from two different cities. If you do the same two cities in a later simulator, it seems to be about the same amount of time. You know, is it exact? Probably not, but it's a lot more realistic than what I would have thought. Because I've done a lot of these, and I've done these over on YouTube. I have a World Tour series where I do these flights with the Commodore 64 and then do them again on the Amiga, and then Microsoft Flight Simulator 2, 3, 4, 5, 98, 2000, 2002, 2004, FSX, P3D, X-Plane 5 through 11. We'll get to 12. And even Flight Simulator 2020. So in that series, I have done the same exact flights in all of those simulators just to see how they compare. And they're pretty close to the same as far as scale. It's when you look back in retrospect of the limited technology, it's actually pretty amazing what they were able to do with the technology. I think you'll enjoy those. Another thing that I do is these are not just the default simulators. You know, it's not just default Flight Simulator 4 or default Flight Simulator 5. I actually use various add-ons and enhancements and expansions and stuff. And I believe I'm the only one on YouTube that is doing stuff like that. So you'll get to see custom content and different types of add-ons and enhancements that were used back in those days for those old simulators to, you know, enhance the experience. Okay, let's go ahead and, whoa, what did I just do? Let's turn on Cincinnati. Okay, we got 65 miles to go to Cincinnati. You can see that. That's on our nav1 and our distance measuring equipment there, 64 miles. So there you go. We could look up the distance between Shelbyville and Cincinnati and just see if it is about 65 miles. Let's give it a look. let's see. Shelbyville, Indiana. Okay, you know what? I think that's pretty darn close. Take a look. Get out and look. So here it is. Shelbyville to Cincinnati. If you were to fly by car. Only if you had a DeLorean. If you were to drive by car, it would be 81.9 miles. Obviously, we're flying. It's a straight line. And what we're saying, around 65 miles. So that's... I'd say that's pretty dang close. That is pretty dang close. That's a great question about the scale. It's something that I thought about, but just kind of going in there and kind of comparing like the distance between two different cities and then checking here just to see how close it is kind of a cool thing. Yeah, no. Yeah, they didn't. It's not like Truck Simulator. Like I do videos on American and Euro Truck Simulator also. And that one, the scale is not 1-to-1. It's like 10-to-1, I think. So, yeah, that one there is kind of sped up. But no, SubLogic back in the day was... They were all about trying to make it a realistic experience back then. And then they took this and they ported that over. They worked with Microsoft to port the SubLogic Flight Simulator, which became the Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I believe that there were real people in the aviation industry that was working on the see, Bruce Artwick, he was the CEO of SubLogic, and no, he's got history in aviation. Let's take a look. Bruce Artwick, born in 1953. Is he still alive? He's still alive. Oh, that's so cool. I thought he passed away, but he's still alive. That's awesome. Okay, so he is the creator of the first consumer flight simulator software. He founded SubLogic after graduating from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in 1977. He released the first version of Flight Simulator for the Apple II in 1979. His original Apple II software was purchased by Microsoft in 1982 and became Flight Simulator 1.0. After SubLogic, Bruce founded the Bruce Artwick Organization, or BAO, which continued development of flight simulator products and was eventually bought out by Microsoft. So his early life and education: born and raised in Norridge, Illinois, attended Triton Junior College. He went to the University of Illinois to study computer engineering, but then he switched to electrical engineering because he believed that the degree would be more acceptable to the public eye. He expressed his enthusiasm for aviation by doing research at the Aviation Research Lab. He held a technician position in the Digital Computer Lab. Eventually, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering in 1975 and obtained a master's degree in electrical engineering the following year. In May 1976, in his thesis, he called a versatile computer-generated dynamic flight display. He displayed a model of the flight of an aircraft on a computer screen. With this artwork, proved that it was possible to use a 6800 microprocessor, which powered some of the first available microcomputers, to handle the graphics and calculations of the specifications needed to produce real-time flight simulation. So after establishing SubLogic in 1977, he took his thesis one step further by developing the first flight simulator program for the Apple II. And then he followed up the simulator with the Radio Shack TRS-80 version. And by the year 1981, Flight Simulator became so popular that it was reportedly the best-selling title for Apple. And then after that, Microsoft decided to enter the fray to obtain a license for Flight Simulator. They obtained a joint license, and by November 1982, Microsoft's version of Flight Simulator hit the stores as a PC entertainment program. That is the most that I have found. It looks like there's an article from May 23rd, 2012. Bruce Artwick is still flying, not artwork. And back in the day, Flight Simulator pushed hardware to the limit. PC designers used Flight Simulator as a benchmark for PC compatibility. So basically, if it could run Flight Simulator, it could run whatever else that they needed. So we got 49 miles to go. So, and you can take a look at the clock. It's running in real time. 36, 37, 38. I mean, this isn't the, exact time it is right now, but, I mean, it's running just like a regular clock. And then you've got your speedometer. That's not it. Airspeed indicator, which is sitting over about 120 knots. Yeah, so with all those mathematical calculations, it's determining that we're flying over 120 knots. And with this time here and the distance, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and we're far away from Indianapolis now, so we're not going to be able to see it. Not too much else out there to really look at. And there is a slight difference between this and the Microsoft Flight Simulator version 2. Version 2 is a Cessna. Well, even version 1 is a Cessna, while this is a Piper here. So the Microsoft Flight Simulator has, it's a Cessna. The dash is curved on the end, and it's got retractable landing gear, whereas this one does not. And we are doing ourselves an epic coast-to-coast flight. We are more than halfway across the U.S. right now. Okay, so Cincinnati, Greater Cincinnati International, does have an ILS. It's going to be runway 9 right. And it is 111.9. That is the frequency. Oh, and it does have ATIS, 135.3. I don't think we're close enough to pick that up. Yep, not yet. No, there's no audio for the ATIS. It'll just be text up on the screen. The first time that you could get audio for the ATIS was with Flight Simulator 4. You had to have the speech synthesis installed for it, basically text to speech. And I managed to actually get that working on Flight Simulator 4. That's a tough one though, because there's a lot of great add-ons for it, but it's a DOS game, and DOS is very limited on the amount of memory that it will let you use. So if you've got too much stuff installed, it just crashes and doesn't work. And we may not be able to pull up ATIS information until it loads, and it would make sense, until it loads that particular scenery up ahead. Even though you do have scenery that you can use with this, you have very minimal VFR to fly with. It's enough to get by, but with the old simulator, you really got to keep an eye on your instruments. Because it's going to be very hard to tell how far above the ground you really are. So, for example, what I am going to look at right now is, what is the altitude at Greater Cincinnati International? Well, according to the map here, the data, you can see right here, well, that's pretty big. It's 892. So, can I delete that? 892. So, when we go to land, I need to keep that in mind, that we'll be close to the ground somewhere around 900 feet. Right now, we're at 2,900. Now, in normal flight, that would be kind of low, and I would not do that in a modern simulator. But in these old simulators, I try to keep it somewhere around 3,000 feet above ground level, because, you know, it's not a perfect simulator. It's only as good as it's programmed, and it seems like the higher I am, the harder it is to get lined up with runways without overshooting it or whatnot. So I keep it around 3,000 or 4,000. Which technically we should be around 4,000, because 3,000 over 900 is, you know, 3,900. We're sitting at 3,000, but we'll be fine at this height. I have to turn auto coordination off, so that way I can use the rudders apart from the ailerons. Because when I need to turn the aircraft just a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, I can do that using the keyboard with the rudders. If I try to use the ailerons or, you know, auto coordination, it turns it too much, even if I do it a little bit. Okay, so there is a blue line out there. That's the Ohio River that we're seeing. Okay, so I set up our ILS on nav 2. Now it's not going to work on nav 2, but the reason why I got it set up there is once I see the off indicator change to a 2, then I know that it's activated, we're in range, and then I can change it on nav 1. Still not close for ATIS messages. I guess in a way, yeah, I'm kind of using it as a notepad. I'll have something stored in nav 2, and that way when I see it activate, then I'm like, oh, okay, we're within range, and I can put the frequency in the nav 1. Got all these things that I kind of figured out back when I was a teenager and I was flying this. Things that worked for me. And that was the whole reason I was getting back into these old flight simulators, is because I wanted to see if I could go back to these old simulators and have just as much fun with them in modern days as I did, you know, back in those old days. That was the whole reason for me doing that. And look at that. The OBS number 2, do you see? It's activated. So now we know that I can tune into the ILS and we'll be close. And I wonder now if we can pull up ATIS information now. Guess we'll find out. Nope, not yet. There we go. Nav 1 is set up to the ILS. We're 17 miles away. It's runway 9. Right. So we'll set the heading indicator to 090 and we'll keep flying until we intersect that rating, or that radio. Hopefully it'll be lined up correctly. It's not always. Does using an emulator feel the same as when you used it before? For the most part, yeah, it has. There has been some unique issues, like graphical issues. So the flight that I did yesterday, there was a graphical issue, which I think was emulator related. So whenever trying to turn the aircraft, the visuals outside did not quite look the way they should, and they look fine now. This particular emulator, which is Vice, V-I-C-E, has been around for a long time. So it is pretty well developed. That's it. That's Cincinnati right over there. You can see the Ohio River going through. Now the airport itself is actually in Kentucky. It's south of the Ohio River. So it'll be on the other side of this blue line. Over to the left. Nope, still not close enough for the ATIS message. Probably won't be until we get like within 10 miles. Yeah, the airport should be somewhere right around in this area here. There's the Ohio River snaking off in the distance there. The I-74 behind us. Just kind of looking out the windows off to the left here. Wow. Okay, maybe we won't be getting any ATIS information. Okay, we're within 10 miles. I'm going to start dropping flaps. Oh. It looks like we're going to need to start making our turn as well. Because you'll see the vertical indicator and the horizontal indicator. The vertical indicator is almost centered. We are 6.8 miles from the airport. It's got to be somewhere. I'm surprised we don't see it yet. Wow, 6 miles in, we still don't have ATIS information. I wonder if this could be one of those graphical glitches. Literally, I don't know where this thing is at. It should be right here. We're only 5 miles away. We should be able to see the airport. Trust your instruments. I'd like to be able to get lined up with the runway if I could see it somewhere. Unless it's not on scenery disc number... No, it's on scenery disc number 9. We should be able to see it. We should be able to see it. This is interesting. This is a really weird, bizarre area. I know we've got the right... I know we got the right scenery disc loaded up. Did they not? Oh, here we go. Well, we got to get within 1 mile before the airport loads up. There it is. All right, they got a hotel waiting for us. The question is, can we get ourselves landed on one of these runways here? We might be able to land on that really small one there. Actually, I think we're gonna have to come around here. It's kind of like Star Wars. It's like, well, the position is correct, but there's no Alderaan. What do you mean? Where is it? That's what I'm trying to tell you, kid. It's not there. It's been totally blown away. What? How? Destroyed by the Empire. Now let me guess, we've gone out of range of the airport and now we're not going to see it, right? Nope. This is not a pilot-friendly airport. There is a runway. We're getting a little bit lined up here. Now this is definitely not an emulator issue. This is how the scenery was actually done. Okay, that was a little bit of a challenge trying to get lined up with the runway while only being 1 mile away from the airport. That was crazy. Let's go ahead and take a look at... So there we go. That is Cincinnati right there. There's the Ohio River. And the airport is just south of the Ohio River, just like I mentioned. They don't have any taxiways here. There's supposed to be a fuel box here, but I don't think we're going to see that anywhere. So we'll go ahead. We'll park over here to the side. Oh, I found it. There's the fuel box right there. It's exciting in the old simulator when you've got a fuel box you can use, because not every airport has one. Kind of like the ILS. Not too many airports have one. And these old simulators. But we'll stop, and you'll, in the lower right, you'll see the fuel indicators go all the way to full. Once we get fully stopped, there they go. They have gone all the way up. There, we can go ahead and shut off the plane. Okay, we're here at Cincinnati, Ohio. Apparently it was within a fog that was 1 mile from the airport, so we couldn't see the airport until we were a mile away. But that was an interesting little challenge as far as getting us turned around and getting us hopefully lined up with a runway by the time we got within 1 mile of the airport again, which worked. We managed to land on it. We didn't get quite straight, lined up straight with the runway, but we did we touched down on it, so I mean, that's a win. But yeah, so hope you're enjoying the series, and if you just tuned in, you might want to go back to the beginning of the series and see it from when we started off, from Los Angeles, going all the way up to this point, and we're going to continue going east. I actually have an idea of maybe doing something a little bit different than what I had originally planned. Just a slight altercation. We're still going to Martha's Vineyard, but want to make it just a little bit interesting, and we'll get into that on the next flight. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next flight. Have a killer, awesome day.